Obstacles are not stop signs, they're guideposts. Think about that for a moment. How many times have you faced a challenge and thought, why me? Why now, but what if just for today you shifted that perspective? What if instead of seeing a wall, you saw a door? Because that's what obstacles really are, doors to a new part of yourself, a new chapter in your life. Imagine this, you're driving on a long winding road. Suddenly there's a detour sign. Frustrating, right? You wanted to stay on your planned route, but that detour, it's not there to stop you, it's there to redirect you. It's pointing you toward a path you might not have chosen, but one you're meant to explore. Every obstacle is like that detour sign. It's the universe saying, there's something better ahead if you're willing to trust. And let me tell you something, those guideposts don't show up by accident. They're strategically placed right where you need them, even if you don't see it in the moment. Maybe it's a rejection that forces you to rethink your approach. Maybe it's a failure that humbles you enough to learn the lesson you've been avoiding. Or maybe it's a heartbreak that cracks you open just enough to let the light in. Here's a thought: to hold on to growth doesn't happen in the comfort zone. I know it's tempting to stay where it's safe, where it's familiar. But comfort isn't where life happens. Growth happens in the stretch, in the moments when you feel like giving up but choose to push forward instead. Think about a seed. For it to grow into a tree, it has to break open. That breaking isn't pretty, it's messy and painful. But without it, there's no growth. You are that seed, and every obstacle is the breaking open that brings you closer to your potential. Now let me ask you this, have you ever faced a challenge so big, so overwhelming that you thought, this is it, this is the end? And yet, here you are, you made it through. You found a way, even if it wasn't the way you planned. That's the beauty of challenges. They reveal a strength you didn't know you had. They show you what you're truly made of. Think about the last time you stumbled. Did it stop you or did it redirect you? Maybe you didn't get the job you wanted. At the time, it felt like failure, didn't it? But looking back, can you see how it led you to something better? Something more aligned with who you are. That's the magic of obstacles. They're not there to defeat you, they're there to refine you. Here's the thing, the mind loves to label. It wants to call something good or bad, success or failure. But what if you stopped labeling and started trusting? What if every challenge wasn't a punishment, but a nudge to grow, to evolve, to become? Let's get real for a second. Challenges don't feel good in the moment. They hurt, they frustrate, they test your patience. But they also teach you resilience, they teach you courage, they teach you how to get back up when life knocks you down. And that's a skill you can't put a price on. Resilience is your superpower. It's what turns obstacles into stepping stones and setbacks into comebacks. Pause for a moment. Think about the hardest thing you've ever been through. Really think about it. Close your eyes if you need to. Now ask yourself, what did that experience teach you? How did it shape you? Because here's the truth, those moments, the ones that break you open, they're the ones that build you up. They're the moments that forge your character, your strength, your wisdom. Have you ever noticed how some of the most inspiring people have faced the biggest challenges? It's not a coincidence. Their struggles became their guideposts. Their obstacles became their story. And the same is true for you. Your challenges aren't just happening to you, they're happening for you. They're shaping the person you're becoming. Here's a little secret: the universe has a way of giving you what you need, not what you want. I know that's not always easy to hear, but think about it. If you only got what you wanted, you'd stay the same. You wouldn't grow. You wouldn't evolve. And growth is the whole point. That's why you're here. To learn, to stretch, to expand. But let's be honest, it's easy to get stuck in the why me mindset. It's easy to feel like a victim when things don't go your way. But what if instead of asking, why is this happening to me, you asked, what is this teaching me? That single shift in perspective can change everything. It takes you out of the role of victim and puts you in the role of creator. Because let's face it, you're not here to be defeated. You're here to rise. And let me tell you something else. Your obstacles aren't random. They're tailor-made for your growth. The challenge you're facing right now, it's not a mistake. It's exactly what you need to become the person you're meant to be. So the next time you hit a roadblock, don't see it as an end. See it as a beginning of a new path, a new opportunity, a new version of you. Picture this, you're climbing a mountain. The higher you go, the harder it gets. The air gets thinner, the path gets steeper, but with every step you're building strength. With every step you're proving to yourself that you can do hard things. And when you reach the top, when you finally stand on that summit and look back at how far you've come, you realize the struggle was worth it. The view is always worth the climb. Here's a thought to carry with you. Life isn't about avoiding challenges. It's about learning to dance with them. It's about embracing the twists and turns, the ups and downs, and finding the lesson in every moment. Because at the end of the day, it's not the obstacles that define you, it's how you choose to respond to them. So I ask you, what are you going to do with your obstacles? Are you going to let them stop you, or are you going to let them guide you? The choice is yours. Always has been. Always has been. Your thoughts are the architects of your resilience. Let that sink in. Every single thought you entertain, every belief you hold, it's like a brick. And with each one, you're building something. So the question isn't whether you're building, the question is what you're building. Are you constructing a fortress of inner strength? Or are you piecing together a fragile house of doubt and fear, one gust away from collapse? Picture this, a challenge arrives, unexpected and heavy, like a storm cloud rolling in. What's the first thing you do? You think. And that thought, that initial, unfiltered reaction becomes the foundation of your response. If you think, I can't handle this, guess what? That's the blueprint you hand to your mind. But if you think, this is tough, but I'll find a way, you've just handed yourself a hammer and nails to build something solid. It's not the storm that determines your strength, it's the structure you've already built in your mind. Here's a hook for you. Your mind doesn't care what you build, it'll take any blueprint you give it. So why not give it one that serves you? Why not design something unshakable? Think of your thoughts as the architects, your emotions as the construction crew, and your actions as the final touches. It all starts with that first blueprint. Have you ever seen a skyscraper? Standing tall, unwavering, even as the wind howls and the ground shifts beneath it? That's what you're capable of building inside yourself. But here's the secret. It's not the size of the building that makes it strong, it's the foundation. And in your life, your foundation is your thoughts. Now, let's get real. The average person has about 60,000 thoughts a day. That's 60,000 chances to strengthen or weaken your foundation. The problem is, most of us don't choose our thoughts, we let them happen. They're automatic, habitual, and often rooted in fear or self-doubt. But what if just for today you became intentional about your thoughts? What if you paused, took a deep breath, and asked yourself, is this thought helping me build resilience or is it tearing me down? Pause here and really think about it, because every single one of those 60,000 thoughts is a brick. And bricks don't care what they build, they'll stack wherever you place them. You can use them to build walls that trap you, or you can use them to build bridges that lead you forward. The choice is yours. Let me share a story. There was a man who lost everything: his job, his home, his sense of identity. He sat in the ruins of his life, overwhelmed and defeated. But then he caught himself. He realized that while he couldn't change what had happened, he could change what he thought about it. Instead of thinking, my life is over, he chose to think, this is my chance to start fresh. That single shift in thought became the cornerstone of his comeback. He rebuilt his life not because the challenges disappeared, but because his resilience grew. And here's the thing, that man, he's not unique. That power isn't reserved for some special few. It's in you too. Right now, in this very moment, you have the ability to choose thoughts that empower you. You have the ability to become your own architect of strength. Let's talk about those empowering thoughts. What do they look like? They look like, I can handle this even when you're shaking. They look like, I'll find a way even when the path is unclear. They look like, this challenge is here to teach me even when the lesson is hard to see. These thoughts aren't just wishful thinking, they're the blueprints of resilience. But here's the catch: building resilience isn't a one-time project, it's a daily practice. Think of it like going to the gym. You don't lift weights once and expect to be strong forever. You show up day after day and you do the work. The same is true for your mind. You strengthen it by choosing empowering thoughts over and over again, especially when it's hard. Now let's bring it closer to home. Think about a challenge you're facing right now. Maybe it's a tough decision, a setback, or a fear that's been holding you back. Whatever it is, pause and ask yourself, what thought am I choosing in this moment? And is it helping me or hurting me? Be honest, because the answer to that question will reveal the blueprint you're working from. Here's a little exercise for you. Close your eyes and picture yourself as a builder. You're standing in front of an empty lot, your life. In one hand, you hold bricks labeled, "I'm not good enough, I can't do this, and what if I fail?" In the other hand, you hold bricks labeled, "I'm capable, I've overcome challenges before, and I'll figure it out. Which pile are you going to build with?" Remember, you can't build a fortress of strength with bricks of doubt. And let me tell you something, challenges don't knock you down because they're stronger than you. They knock you down because they exploit the cracks in your foundation. That's why your thoughts matter so much. When you choose empowering thoughts, you fill those cracks, you reinforce your foundation. And over time, you create a fortress so strong that no challenge, not rejection, not failure, not fear can breach it. But let's not sugarcoat it. Choosing empowering thoughts isn't always easy. It takes effort, it takes awareness, and it takes a willingness to challenge the stories you've been telling yourself. But here's the good news, you don't have to do it all at once. Start small. Start with one thought, one brick, and then another, and another. Before you know it, you've built something extraordinary. Let's circle back to that skyscraper. It didn't rise overnight. It was built piece by piece by piece, brick by brick, thought by thought. And here's the beautiful part. It didn't just withstand the storm, it thrived in it. That's what you're capable of. Not just surviving your challenges, but growing because of them, thriving in them. So the next time life throws a challenge your way, remember your thoughts are the architects of your resilience. Choose wisely, build intentionally, and trust that what you're creating, a fortress of inner strength, will stand tall no matter what comes your way. The storm doesn't last forever, but the lessons it leaves behind will. Let that settle in your mind for a moment. Life's storms, they come fast, they come fierce, and they shake everything you thought was stable. But here's what we often forget: the storm is temporary. The wind howls, the rain pours, but eventually the sky clears. What remains is what matters: the lessons, the strength, the clarity that the storm reveals. Think about it. When you're in the middle of the chaos, when it feels like the world is falling apart, the instinct is to resist, to fight against the storm. But resistance doesn't stop the rain. It doesn't calm the wind. All it does is exhaust you. What if instead of fighting, you chose to lean in? What if instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" you ask, "What can I learn from this?" Pause for a moment. Imagine standing in a storm. The rain is cold, the wind is relentless. Now picture yourself stopping, lifting your face to the sky, and simply letting it all wash over you. There's a strange kind of peace in that surrender, isn't there? That's the power of shifting your perspective, of choosing curiosity over resistance, acceptance over struggle. Here's something to consider. Every storm in your life has a purpose. It's not random, it's not meaningless. The universe doesn't send challenges your way to punish you, it sends them to teach you, to grow you, to prepare you for what's next. But the lesson only comes if you're willing to see it. If you're too busy resisting, you'll miss it. Think about the last time you faced a challenge. Really think about it. Maybe it was a breakup that broke your heart. Maybe it was a failure that shattered your confidence. Maybe it was a loss that left you feeling empty. At the time, it felt unbearable, didn't it? But now, looking back, can you see the gift it left behind? Maybe it made you stronger. Maybe it taught you something about yourself that you needed to know. Or maybe it opened a door you never would have walked through otherwise. Let me tell you a story. Imagine a young tree growing in a wide open field. One day a storm rolls in fierce winds, pounding rain, the works. The tree bends under the weight of it all, branches snap, leaves scatter. It looks like the tree might not make it, But when the storm passes, something remarkable happens. The tree, though battered, stands a little taller. Its roots have grown deeper, stronger, more grounded than ever before. The storm didn't destroy the tree, it made it resilient. And you, my friend, are that tree. Here's a hook to hold on to. Storms don't just test you, they reveal you. They show you what you're made of. They strip away the superficial, the unnecessary, and leave you with what's real, your strength, your courage, your essence. But you can only see that if you're willing to look. Have you ever noticed how the most beautiful sunsets often follow the darkest storms? That's not a coincidence. The contrast is what makes it so breathtaking. And the same is true for your life. The storm creates the conditions for your growth, your transformation, your awakening. It forces you to let go of what no longer serves you and embrace what's waiting for you on the other side. Here's the thing: we live in a world that celebrates control. We're taught to plan, to predict, to prepare for every possibility. But storms don't follow your plans. They don't care about your schedule. They come when they're meant to come, and they do what they're meant to do. So the question isn't, how do I stop the storm? The question is, how do I move through it with grace? Let's break this down. The next time you find yourself in a storm, whether it's a challenge at work, a conflict in a relationship, or a personal struggle, pause. Take a deep breath. Instead of reacting, reflect. Ask yourself, what is this here to teach me? What part of me is being called to grow? What strength am I being asked to develop? These questions shift your focus from the problem to the possibility. They turn the storm into a classroom and you into a student. And here's the magic of this mindset: when you start looking for the lesson, you stop fearing the storm. You start to see it as a necessary part of your journey, a stepping stone to the next version of yourself. That doesn't mean the storm will be easy. Growth rarely is, but it will be worth it every single time. Think about the caterpillar. To become a butterfly, it has to go through the chrysalis stage, a dark, confined, and uncomfortable space. It might feel like the end, but it's actually the beginning. The struggle to break free from that cocoon isn't a punishment, it's preparation. It's what gives the butterfly the strength to fly. Your storms are your chrysalis. They're preparing you for flight. Now, let me ask you this: what would happen if you stopped seeing the storm as the enemy and started seeing it as the teacher? How would that change the way you face challenges? How would that change the way you see yourself? Here's another thought: the lessons from the storm aren't just for you. They're meant to be shared. Your story, your journey, your resilience, it has the power to inspire others. Think about that. Your struggle could be someone else's guidepost. Your perseverance could be the light that helps someone else through their darkness. So the next time the sky turns gray and the winds start to howl, remember this: the storm doesn't last forever, but the lessons it leaves behind will. Those lessons, they're your treasures, your wisdom, your strength, and they'll carry you through every storm that comes your way. You're not defined by what happens to you, but by how you respond. Think about that. Let it settle in. Life will throw things at you, unexpected, unfair, even overwhelming. But here's the truth: those moments, those circumstances, they're not the authors of your story. You are. Every single time you choose how to respond, you reclaim your power. Take a deep breath with me right now, just one breath. Feel it fill your lungs, feel it anchor you. That's your power, your ability to pause, your ability to choose. And it's in that pause where transformation begins. Because in that moment between what happens and how you respond, you hold the pen that writes your life. Here's the thing: too many of us go through life reacting. We let our circumstances dictate our emotions, our decisions, even our sense of self. Someone cuts you off in traffic and suddenly your whole day is ruined. A harsh word from a colleague and you're questioning your worth. But let me ask you this: who's in control in those moments? The situation or you? You're not a puppet, my friend. You're not here to be yanked around by the strings of life. You're here to stand tall, to take that deep breath, to decide, how am I going to respond? Because it's not what happens to you that defines your life. It's what you do with it. Let me tell you a story. A man loses his job. He's devastated. His bills are piling up. His confidence is shattered, and he feels like his life is over. Sound familiar? But here's the twist. Instead of staying stuck in his pain, he takes a walk one day. He clears his mind. And on that walk, he has an idea he never would have had if he'd stayed in his misery. That idea becomes a business. That business changes his life. He didn't let the loss define him. He let his response shape him. Here's a powerful reminder: life doesn't owe you ease, it doesn't owe you comfort, but it gives you something far greater, the opportunity to grow. Every challenge you face is an invitation to step into your strength. Shift your perspective to rise above. Let's take a moment and look at nature. Think about the oak tree. When the storm comes, does the tree collapse? No. It bends, it adapts. Its roots grow deeper, its branches grow stronger. And when the storm passes, the tree is still standing taller, wiser, more resilient. That's your power too. You have roots. You have strength. You just need to trust it. But here's the catch: responding with power doesn't mean ignoring your pain. It doesn't mean pretending everything's fine when it's not. No, it means feeling the emotion, acknowledging the hurt, and then choosing not to let it consume you. Because here's the truth: pain is inevitable, but suffering is optional. Suffering is what happens when we let the story of our pain define us. Now, take a moment and think about someone you admire, someone who inspires you. Chances are they didn't have an easy life. They faced setbacks, heartbreaks, failures. But what sets them apart isn't what happened to them, it's how they responded. They chose to see the lesson in the struggle, the gift in the pain. And you can do the same. Imagine this: you're walking through a forest. It's dark. The path is unclear. You stumble over roots, you trip on rocks. But then you see a glimmer of light up ahead. You realize the forest isn't there to trap you, it's there to teach you how to navigate. That's life. The challenges, the obstacles, they're not there to break you. They're there to build you. And here's where it gets really powerful. The moment you shift your perspective, the moment you say, this isn't happening to me, it's happening for me, your entire world changes. Because perspective is everything. It's the lens through which you see your life. And when you change that lens, you see possibilities where you once saw problems. You see growth where you once saw failure. I want you to try something right now. Think of a challenge you're facing. It could be big, it could be small. Close your eyes if you need to. Now, instead of focusing on how hard it is, ask yourself, what can I learn from this? How can this make me stronger? What's the gift here? And yes, there is always a gift, even in the pain, especially in the pain. But here's the thing: this shift in perspective isn't a one-time thing. It's a practice. It's a choice you make every single day. And some days it'll be harder than others. But the more you practice, the stronger you'll get. It's like building a muscle. And over time, you'll find that the things that once knocked you down don't shake you anymore. Think about the last time you faced something hard. Maybe you lost someone you loved. Maybe you failed at something you cared about. At the time, it felt unbearable, didn't it? But look at you now. You survived. You grew. You're still standing. And that's the proof that you're stronger than you think. So the next time life knocks you down, take a deep breath. Feel your power in that breath. Remind yourself, I am not defined by this. I am defined by how I rise from this and then rise, even if it's just a small step, even if all you can do is stand. Because every step forward is a victory. Every step forward is a reminder of who you really are. And let me leave you with this: life isn't about avoiding challenges. It's about becoming the kind of person who can face them with grace, with strength, with courage. So take that deep breath, shift your perspective, and watch your power grow, because you are so much more powerful than you realize. You always have been. You always will be. Remember why you started. Those 4 words, they hold more power than you realize. Think about it. At some point you felt a spark. An idea, a dream, a purpose lit something inside you. It wasn't random. It wasn't accidental. That spark came from somewhere deep within a place that knows exactly who you are and why you're here. But here's the thing about sparks: they need fuel. Without it, they fade, don't they? The fire that once burned bright starts to flicker under the weight of doubt, setbacks, and exhaustion. That's why remembering why you started is so crucial. It's not just a nice idea, it's the lifeline that keeps your fire burning when the winds of doubt blow the hardest. Close your eyes for a moment. Picture yourself at the very beginning of your journey. Can you see it? The excitement, the determination, the absolute certainty that this was the path for you. Maybe you didn't have all the answers. Maybe the road ahead looked long and uncertain, but there was something undeniable about the way you felt. You knew this was worth pursuing. That feeling that's your purpose calling out to you. And here's the thing, it's still there. It hasn't gone anywhere. You've just got to reconnect with it. Let's pause for a second. Have you ever noticed how easy it is to get caught up in the grind? The day-to-day pressures, the endless to-do lists, the setbacks that feel like they're piling up faster than you can handle. It's like trying to navigate a storm without a compass. And when that happens, it's easy to forget why you even started in the first place. But forgetting your why is like trying to climb a mountain without remembering why you wanted to reach the summit. Without that clarity, every step feels heavier, every setback feels bigger, and giving up starts to feel like an option. So let me ask you, why did you start? Really think about it. Was it for freedom? For love? To create something beautiful, something meaningful? Maybe it was to prove to yourself that you could. Whatever it was, that reason it matters. And reconnecting with it can be the difference between quitting and finding the strength to keep going. Now, let me tell you a story. Imagine a young musician. She picks up a guitar for the first time and feels this overwhelming sense of possibility. Her fingers fumble over the strings, but she doesn't care. She's in love with the idea of making music. Fast forward a few years, and she's playing gigs every night, hustling to make a name for herself. The passion's still there, but it's buried under the stress of bills, late nights, and self-doubt. One day, she stumbles upon an old recording of herself, her very first song. It's raw, it's imperfect, but it's pure, and in that moment she remembers why she started. Not for fame, not for money, but for the love of music. That memory, it reignites her fire. That's what happens when you reconnect with your why. It's like finding an old photograph of yourself back when the dream was fresh and untarnished. It reminds you of the bigger picture, of the purpose that's always been there, even when life tried to bury it. Now think about your own journey. What's your equivalent of that first song? What's the memory, the feeling, the vision that started it all? Hold on to that. Let it anchor you. Because here's the truth, when you stay connected to your why, challenges become stepping stones instead of roadblocks. The winds of doubt can blow, but they can't extinguish a fire fueled by purpose. Let's take it deeper. Purpose isn't just some lofty idea, it's practical. It's what gives you the strength to push through when every part of you wants to quit. Picture a marathon runner hitting the wall at mile 20. Their body is screaming to stop, but then they remember why they started. Maybe it's for their family, maybe it's for a cause they believe in. Whatever it is, that reason propels them forward, one step at a time. That's the power of remembering your purpose. It turns exhaustion into fuel, doubt into determination. But here's the catch, reconnecting with your purpose takes intention. You've got to make the time to reflect, to go inward, to remind yourself what really matters. So let me challenge you right now. Take a moment to ask yourself, why am I doing this? What's driving me? And more importantly, is it still the same reason? Because sometimes your why evolves, that's okay. The point is to stay aligned with it, whatever it looks like now. And let's not forget, purpose isn't just about you, it's about the impact you're here to make. Think about the people who will be touched by what you're creating, what you're building, what you're becoming. Maybe it's your family, your community, or even people you haven't met yet. Your purpose, it ripples outward. And when you remember that, it adds a whole new layer of motivation. Because this isn't just about your journey, it's about the lives you'll touch along the way. Now, let me throw a curveball. Have you ever noticed how challenges seem to test your why? It's like the universe asking, how badly do you want this? Those moments, they're not meant to break you, they're meant to strengthen your resolve. Every setback, every delay, every doubt, it's a chance to dig deeper, to reconnect with that fire inside you. And when you do, you realize something powerful. Your purpose is bigger than your challenges. It's bigger than your fears. It's bigger than any obstacle in your way. Here's another thought to sit with: your why isn't just about where you're going, it's about who you're becoming along the way. The journey shapes you. It teaches you resilience, patience, and grit. And every time you feel like giving up but choose to keep going instead, you're proving to yourself that your purpose is worth it. That's where real growth happens. Not in the moments when it's easy, but in the moments when it's hard and you choose to rise anyway. So I'll ask you again, why did you start? And are you willing to hold on to that no matter what? Because here's the truth: your purpose is your compass. It's what guides you through the storms, the setbacks, the moments when you feel lost. And as long as you stay connected to it, you'll always find your way. Turn why me into what's next. It's such a small shift, just 2 words, but it can change everything. Think about it: how often do we get caught in the spiral of why me when life throws us a curveball? That question drags you down, it keeps you stuck. But the moment you flip it, what's next? You open a door, you create momentum, you give yourself permission to move forward. Life is full of moments that feel like endings. A breakup, a job loss, a dream slipping through your fingers. Those moments hit hard, don't they? They knock the wind out of you, leave you staring at the ceiling, asking that heavy question, why me? But here's what I want you to hear: challenges are not the end. They're the beginning. They're the beginning. They're the birthplace of transformation. Picture this: a caterpillar doesn't know what's coming when it spins its cocoon. From its perspective, that dark, cramped space probably feels like the end. But inside that cocoon, something miraculous is happening. It's breaking down, yes, but it's also rebuilding. It's not dying, it's transforming. When life puts you in your own version of a cocoon, when everything feels like it's falling apart, ask yourself, what's next? Because what's next could be wings. Think about how empowering that is. What's next isn't about giving up. It's about looking up. It's about seeing the possibility in what feels like a dead end. Let me ask you this: what if the challenge you're facing right now isn't a punishment but a preparation? What if the discomfort you're feeling is the universe reshaping you into someone stronger, wiser, more aligned with your purpose? Let's make it personal. Have you ever faced a challenge so big it felt like it would break you? And yet, here you are listening to this. That means you survived. You didn't just survive, you grew, you learned. You became someone new. That's what challenges do. They strip away what no longer serves you and make space for something better to emerge. But you have to be willing to ask, what's next? Here's a little secret: life doesn't owe you comfort. It owes you growth. And growth rarely happens in the easy, sunny moments. It happens in the storm, in the chaos, in the times when you're forced to dig deep and find strength you didn't know you had. Those moments, those why me moments, they're not there to break you. They're there to build you. Think about a sculptor chipping away at a block of marble. To the untrained eye, it looks like destruction. Pieces are falling away, it's messy, imperfect. But to the sculptor, every strike of the chisel is intentional. It's revealing the masterpiece hidden inside. You are that masterpiece. Your challenges are the chisel. So instead of asking, why is this happening to me, ask, what masterpiece is being revealed? Here's something that might surprise you: your challenges are your greatest teachers. They show you what you're capable of. They show you what you value, what you're willing to fight for. And they show you what you need to let go of. Because let's be honest, sometimes the version of yourself you're clinging to isn't the version that can handle what's coming next. Growth requires shedding. It requires release. Let's talk about perspective. 2 people can face the exact same challenge and come out of it completely differently. One person might stay stuck in why me. They build a wall around themselves, convinced the world is against them. The other person asks what's next. They use the challenge as fuel. They let it propel them forward. Which person do you want to be? Imagine a river flowing toward the ocean. Along the way, it encounters rocks, fallen trees, maybe even a dam. Does the river stop and say, why me? No, it finds another path. It flows around, over, through. It keeps moving because it knows its destination is ahead, not behind. Be like the river. Flow. Adapt. Keep moving. Now, I know what you're thinking. It's not that easy, and you're right. Shifting from why me to what's next isn't easy. It takes courage, it takes faith, it takes a willingness to believe that the best is yet to come, even when everything around you feels like it's falling apart. But let me tell you, it's worth it. Because every time you choose what's next, you're choosing hope over despair. You're choosing action over paralysis. You're choosing life. Let's get practical. The next time you're hit with a challenge, I want you to pause. Take a deep breath. And instead of spiraling into why me, ask yourself 3 things. What can I learn from this? How can I grow from this? What's next for me? Write it down if you have to. Because sometimes seeing it on paper makes it real. It gives you clarity. And clarity is power. Here's another thought. What's next is a step into the unknown. And yes, the unknown can be scary, but it's also where all the magic happens. Think about every great story you've ever heard. The hero didn't stay in their comfort zone. They faced challenges, took risks, stepped into the unknown, and that's what made them the hero. You're the hero of your own story. So embrace the unknown, embrace what's next. Let me share something personal. There was a time in my life when I faced a challenge so big I didn't see a way out. I was stuck in why me for weeks, maybe even months. But then one day I woke up and decided I was tired of being stuck. I didn't have all the answers, but I asked myself, what's next? And you know what happened? One small step turned into another, and then another. Before I knew it, I was moving forward. That's the power of what's next. It doesn't require you to have the whole path figured out. It just requires you to take the next step. So I'll leave you with this thought. Challenges aren't the end. They're the beginning. They're the start of a new version of you, a version that's stronger, wiser, more resilient. The question is, are you willing to let go of why me? And step into what's next, because what's next could be everything you've been waiting for. And more. Your energy flows where your focus goes. Let that settle in for a moment. What you focus on expands. If you fixate on what's wrong, you'll find more things to confirm it. But if you turn your gaze, your heart, your mind toward the possibility of what could go right, you ignite a force within you. That's the pull of vision. That's the power of directing your energy. Think about it. When was the last time you faced a challenge and couldn't stop thinking about how unfair it was, how hard it felt, how stuck you were? What happened? That focus didn't free you, it anchored you to the struggle. But what if, instead of dwelling on the problem, you paused, breathed, and asked, what's the best thing that could happen right now? Do you feel the shift? It's subtle, but profound. You go from being stuck to being curious, from victim to creator. Let's paint a picture. Imagine holding a magnifying glass in your hand. Now point it at a pile of dried leaves under the sun. What happens? The sunlight, which is already powerful, becomes concentrated. The leaves catch fire. Why? Because the lens focuses the energy. That's your mind. That's your focus. Whatever you aim at, it will grow stronger. So what are you aiming it at? Problems or possibilities. And here's the kicker. Most of us don't even realize where our focus is going. We let it drift into doubt, into fear, into what if I fail? But let me ask you this. What if you succeed? What if the challenge you're facing right now is setting the stage for your greatest triumph? What if everything you've ever dreamed of is on the other side of this obstacle? Can you feel that pull? That's the vision calling you forward. Picture yourself standing in front of a fork in the road. To your left is a path cluttered with worries, fears, and worst-case scenarios. It's dark. It's heavy. It feels familiar because, let's face it, we've all walked that road. But to your right is a different path. It's lined with possibility, with dreams that light up the horizon. It's unfamiliar, sure, but it feels alive. Here's the truth. You're always standing at that fork every single day. And the road you take depends on where you let your focus go. Now, let me tell you a story. There was a young woman who wanted to start her own business. She had the idea, the passion, the drive. But every time she took a step forward, she hit a wall, financial setback, self-doubt, people telling her it wasn't possible. Sound familiar? She could have quit. She almost did. But instead of focusing on everything that was going wrong, she asked herself, what's one thing I can do right now to move closer to my dream? Just one thing. That small shift in focus changed everything. One step turned into another, and then another, and before she knew it, those walls she thought would stop her became stepping stones. Today, that woman runs a thriving business, and she'll tell you it all started with a question: what could go right? Here's something to consider: your thoughts are like seeds. What you plant, you'll harvest. If you plant seeds of doubt, you'll grow weeds of insecurity. But if you plant seeds of hope, of belief, of possibility, you'll grow a garden of opportunity. So what are you planting? Because make no mistake, your energy will water those seeds and your focus will give them sunlight. Let's try something together. Close your eyes unless you're driving, and imagine the best possible outcome for the challenge you're facing. Don't just think about it, feel it. See yourself succeeding, thriving, moving past it with grace and strength. What does that feel like? Hold on to that feeling. That's your focus shifting. That's your energy aligning with what's possible. Here's another way to think about it. Imagine you're walking through a dark forest with nothing but a flashlight in your hand. Where you point, that light determines what you see. Point it at the shadows and the forest feels scary, overwhelming. But point it ahead toward the path and suddenly you see a way forward. That flashlight is your focus, and you get to choose where to aim it. Now let's get practical. When you wake up tomorrow morning, what's the first thing you'll think about? Will it be the list of things that stress you out, or will it be something you're grateful for? Something you're excited about? That moment right there sets the tone for your entire day. So choose wisely, choose possibility. I know what some of you are thinking: it's easy to say focus on what's right, but what about when life gets hard? What about when the weight feels unbearable? And you're right, it's not always easy. But here's the thing, it's always worth it. Redirecting your focus isn't about ignoring the challenges, it's about refusing to let them define you. It's about saying, yes, this is hard, but I'm harder. This is tough, but I'm tougher. This is a storm, but I am the sky. Let's talk about energy for a second. Have you ever noticed how being around negative people drains you? It's like their focus pulls you into their spiral. But then you meet someone who radiates positivity and suddenly you feel lighter, more alive. That's the power of energy. And guess what? You can create that energy for yourself. By choosing where to place your focus, you become a magnet for more of what you want. You create momentum. Think of an athlete in the middle of a race. Do you think they focus on the pain in their legs, the sweat dripping down their face, or the crowd screaming in the stands? No. They focus on the finish line. They let that vision pull them forward, step by step, stride by stride. And you can do the same. Let your vision, your dream pull you forward. Feel its gravity. Let it guide you through the tough moments. Here's one last thought for now. Your focus isn't just a tool, it's your power. It's how you shape your reality, how you turn dreams into actions and actions into results. So when life throws you a curveball, ask yourself, where am I putting my focus? Am I stuck in the problem, or am I reaching for the solution? Am I feeding my fear, or am I fueling my faith? Because where your focus goes, your energy flows. And where your energy flows, your life grows.